Hey guys, it's Kelsey here, and I'm back with part 2 of my little fair mini album. So I just kind of wrapped up that page there, and I started to work on this little tag, and I just decided to do these little bubbles on this half of it, or on the back side of it, I should say. And I just kind of did them all around the page. I don't really know why I did this. I just thought it looked cute to have some kind of bubbles just floating around the page. I don't even know why, because it's not even like fair related, but I just had wanted to try this technique. So and I didn't try to keep the stencil really in place. I just kept moving it around on purpose, because if I try to keep it in one spot, then you know that it's going to slip up. So on the other page, or on the other side of this tag, I used some of this Picket Fence acrylic paint, and this was my first time using it, so I thought, well, maybe it's just not going to come out very good, and maybe I just need to use it. But since it's white, and since it was on a manila tag, it was a really, really subtle white. I mean, it didn't really do much, but that's okay. I just kind of wanted it as a background, and I'm going to put some vellum on there in a little bit as soon as that dries. So I'm cleaning up my work area, and I'm going to work on the back of this page. And I'm sorry, you don't really get a good view of that page there between the two videos, but I have a recap video, and you'll get to see the whole album in, like, you know, a regular speed. So this is just another one of those frames from Crate Paper, the Pier collection. And it's just a photo of my grandma. I brought her a funnel cake, so I just wanted to kind of document that. So I got a little tag and a little vellum piece, and I put that under the photo. And then I realized, well, the hole is probably going to go through it, since that's going to be like the back side of a page, but I'll deal with that later. So I decided to do a little bit of journaling on this tag, since it had some stripes on it. And I think that's also from Crate Paper, the Pier. I think it was from like a cut apart sheet, but I'm not actually sure, because I mean I pulled so much from my stash that it's hard for me to tell what came from what. So if you want to know where something came from, you can ask me in the comment section, and I will try to tell you. I'm not guaranteeing that I know where everything came from, though, not even close. But if you really are dying to know where something came from, hit me up, and I will try to do my very best to answer you. So I put some of that My Mind's Eye washi tape down, and I put the frame down, and this is a really simple page. It came together pretty quick, but I like the way it turned out. I just wanted the main focus to be on my grandma. And I put that little dig-in wood veneer there, and I was trying to play around with something else. I felt like it needed something else, but I couldn't decide what. So I play around with the wood veneer for a little bit, and decide if I want two, do I want one, where do I want them, do I want something different? And I finally decided to go with that. I think that one says life is good, and then there's just a little arrow. So I like the way that turned out. So I'm going to work with this tagging in, and like I said, I had this little vellum piece, and it was balloons, and I just put a little bit of adhesive on the back of it, and that's pretty much it for the tag. And yeah, I know it's going to go sideways in the book, but that's okay. Not a big deal. So there I have two little round pieces. They were just embellishments, and I'm going to put them together with some adhesive, but I decided to take out some of this, I think it's called Primrose ink, and it's Color Shine ink by Heidi Swapp, so it's got that shiny shimmeriness to it, and I'm just going to layer these two together back to back, and that will be just kind of like another element to the book. So I'm going to leave that there to dry, and I've got some of this tissue paper. This actually came from Altenew. Whenever I ordered their stamps, they had come wrapped in this tissue paper, and I've been hoarding it. I cut off a little piece and used it one day, but for the most part, yeah, I've been hoarding it. And I decided to go ahead and use this tissue to kind of be in the back here. So these are the two watercolor pages, and the watercolor had leaked through to the back. So instead of it having it be these watery type spots, I decided to cover up with some color. So I did some blues and greens, because I thought it would go well with the gold star tissue paper. So I'm not totally in love with this. the way it turns out in the end. But I had to kind of cover the mistakes a little bit, so it is what it is. And I was being really careful not to put too much water so that it wouldn't seep through to the front, which is the actual picture and, the main focus. So I'm going to let that dry just a little bit, pat it down with the towel, and then everything's sticking together. So, and then I'm going to cut it down and do some Mod Podging with it. So, like I said, not 100% sure of the way this turned out. And I put it in the album too soon before the Mod Podge dried, and it kind of stuck to my other page, and it got stuck to a photo, so I just kind of had some issues with this. But there's the color shine, and I'm going to stick that there because it was sticking to everything because I had glue on the back of one of those pages. This is where, in the creative process, where everything's out on your desk, you have a million different things going, and you're like, what am I doing? Because everything, like I said, everything was sticky. I had paint out. My surface was wet because I had to keep cleaning it. And there's just embellishments everywhere, and it was kind of creeping over the desk. But eventually you come to the end of the album or the project or the page or whatever you're working on, and you're like, okay, that wasn't all bad. That, it was worth it in the end, all the mess. So I didn't try to smooth it out too much. I don't mind if there's a few wrinkles in there. So I just wanted to make sure I covered the whole back of it and made sure it was sealed down really well because I don't want it to be peeling up, which is a problem that I've had with Mod Podge in the past. So I'm just going to let that dry on there, and that'll be good. So this is a piece of like wood paper, I guess you would call it. It came in a Studio Calico kit. I think I got it on like Black Friday or something when they had a bunch of kits for really cheap. So I have no idea where this came from, what kit, who would make more of it, but I'm sure if you looked online you could find something similar. So I just decided to do something different with it and put it on the back of my other watercolored photo page. I also have a ton of these rub-ons. I used a couple of them earlier, and they're really, really old. This is like the first time I went to Archivers, I think, I got these rub-ons. That's how long they've been sitting there. For like 4 years. Isn't that crazy? Anyway, so I decided to try and see how they would go onto this wood. And I knew there was like a chance that it would really not work very well. I also thought maybe the rub-ons wouldn't work very well since they were so old. But it actually went on really smoothly, even with that gap, with that wood paper being a little bit thicker. So the rub-ons just went on smoothly, and I cut a bunch of these banner pieces, or even just kind of banner looking pieces, and just kind of rubbed them onto the top of that little white gap. So that was the only problem with the wood paper, was it didn't go all the way to the top, but I just kind of made it work. And I actually really like the way this page turned out, which sometimes when you fly by the seat of your pants, you don't really like how it turns out, just like the tissue paper I'm not in love with, but this actually worked in my favor. And I also took that little carousel piece. It's a little, I don't know, it's like a horse, and it's got the stick like on a carousel, and I'm going to put that on there too, just as something a little bit different to break up these little banner pieces. Because I thought it was kind of fair themed, even though we didn't go on any carnival ride, or didn't go on the carousel, and we actually didn't go on. My husband didn't go on any rides. I just went on the Tilt-A-Whirl. Isn't that sad? My husband is not a kid at heart, I guess. But anyway, so I just thought that looked cute there, and it finally got it out of my stash, and I used it, so I was pretty happy with that. So that's just how that page turned out, and it's just the back of that. And then I'm going to pull this out and trim around the edges as soon as it's dry, but I'm not ready for that quite yet. So this is the cover of the album, or will turn out to be the cover. And I put on that little flare, and it just says 2014, and then I put on one of these stickers from Studio Calico, and it was very faint, so I didn't absolutely love it, so I definitely decided to cover it up with some vellum. And here is where I'm going to start putting the album together and showing you how I put it together a little bit. So I kind of go back and forth at this point. So basically all I did was I took this ruler and I measured, I think it was about 1/4 of an inch in. And I took this smaller piece out that I knew would be coming, just to kind of see where I wanted the holes at. Everything in the book was staggered, but I still needed an idea of where to stagger it, so I could just like start the book. So then I'm just going to use my hole punch, and that is going to be the start of the album. So there's the cover. And so I take this second piece, and this is how I make sure my holes are kind of lined up where I want them to be. I will either punch through the holes into the second paper, or I will mark them with circles. In this book, it didn't really matter. Like I said, since they were staggered, it didn't matter if they were off a little bit. Nothing had to be lined up. But if you were trying to be more precise, you'd want to really be careful about this part. So here I am going back to this page. Like I said, I'm just kind of going back and forth at this point, trying to wrap the album up and just kind of get going with everything, or get going with the finishing process, I should say. I feel like I'm really rambling tonight, but it's been a while since I made the album, so I'm kind of flying by the seat of my pants with this narration, guys. So again, I'm just lining it up where I kind of think I want it, and I'm circling around, and I'm going to punch more holes. So I just kind of wanted to really show you how I started this process. And I've got a lot of those little filler pages, and I'm just marking those all at once because it doesn't really matter where they go. So I just want to get a bunch of the holes punched. And I'm trying to keep it at about 1/4 of an inch in. It doesn't always work, but I don't want anything too close to the edge so that it will be more likely to tear or rip. So this is actually a little closer to the edge than I probably wanted it, but it'll work. So I decided to put that there, and none of this is like finalized. I'm just trying to put it on under the rings to make sure it's going to kind of fit, but it's not a permanent placement for anything. Things kind of get shifted around. So there again, I'm just double checking that it's 1/4 of an inch in, and I'm just kind of making tick marks, and then I will go back and punch the holes for it. And you can kind of see there how the watercolor peeks through that tissue paper. So again, not 100% sure if I like that or not, but it works. So there, I'm just checking all my measurements and just making sure that everything's gonna go together the way I want it to. And at this point, I'm pretty much just gonna wrap up the album here, show you a few more cuts that I'm gonna make, and that's pretty much it. So as you can see, I'm just once again double checking everything because I just want to make sure everything's cool. And there I realized I didn't go through the vellum piece, and then I didn't absolutely love the way the hole went through the vellum, but it adds a little bit of texture and something different. So there, I'm just flipping through some of the things that I have so far, and I like those like free floating elements, like the tag and just like that little piece. It's just a little cute thing to flip through and look at. So I'm just trying to figure out the placement of everything and the way I want everything laid out in the book, like what goes where and what embellishments need to go where. So I'm just going to kind of figure it all out, but you're going to see a whole recap of this whole mini album in slow motion, or I should say in real time, and I will go over everything with you so that you can kind of see how it all turns out. So thank you so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe so you can see all 3 videos in this little mini album series, and I will see you guys again really, really soon. Again, thank you so much for watching, and I can't wait to see you for the last part of the video. Have a great day, guys.